Let's take a look at Bitcoin to the US dollar price chart right now, because that divergence that I was telling you guys about, which was the regular bearish divergence where the price chart makes a higher high and the key indicators make lower highs, well, we saw that on Bitcoin's price chart right here ever since the 24th of April right here, where the price chart made a higher high all the way until the 22nd of May. And look at the stochastic RSI was putting in lower highs. Now the relative strength index was putting in higher highs, but we were overvalued all the way here on the second point of contact. For example, this is the first point of contact in a downtrend. This is the second point of contact right here. And this is the first point of contact for the relative strength index. Well, it could be considered the second because maybe this is the first, but then this would be the third point of contact all the way up here. If I move my camera, at about 77. So we're overvalued for the RSI on the daily. The stochastic RSI was putting in a second lower high right here by the 22nd of May, and Bitcoin's price chart was all the way up here at $111,000. That would have been a great short opportunity for Bitcoin to be able to short the market. Sure enough, what happens? Well, the stochastic RSI falls off a shelf, comes all the way down here below 20. The relative strength index pulls all the way back to 44, and now we're seeing a short-term bounce for the RSI. So this reminds me of what we saw last bull run during this phase in the bull run right here. And so in my opinion, where I believe we are is we're at some phase during this part of the market cycle right here, and we're not quite up to the top. Because if we look at the stochastic RSI on the daily for Bitcoin and the relative strength index, you guys can see right here last bull run, we saw this type of divergence play out too, where the price chart was making higher highs, stochastic was making lower highs. There was also confluence because the relative strength index was making lower highs as well too, until it reset all the way down here at 33. And so this time around, we did see the bearish divergence on the stochastic, but the relative strength index was forming higher highs. And now we just started a downtrend in the relative strength index while the stochastic RSI is breaking out. So depending on where Bitcoin tops out in the short term, if it tops out at 109, 110 before we cool off for a little bit, right now we are between the 0.702 and the 786 retracement. So if we cool off for a little bit and just kind of squat right here, that'd be great before continuing higher. If we see an aggressive pullback in Bitcoin's price chart, we come all the way back down here, I'm going to be a little bit more cautious because we could see Bitcoin pull back down within this range. But things are looking actually extremely bullish for the rest of this year, and we still have time left in this bull run. We just need to watch these key indicators closely because we are forming a lower high in the stochastic RSI. So if we roll back around to the downside and the relative strength index gets rejected, then I would expect the price to either cool off or pull back for a little bit because we're in the middle of a range for the stochastic. We're in the middle of a range for the relative strength index. Although we are above 50, this is not giving me conclusive evidence that we're going to go higher or we're going to go down. So I remain agnostic right now, and I'm not entering into a trade for Bitcoin until I see how this daily candle closes and over the next few days as well too. So that's where patience is our best friend here, because you guys can see what happened after Bitcoin was done going through this consolidation phase right here at the tail end of September when we broke out to the all-time high. Well, the RSI broke this downtrend and absolutely exploded to the upside and went all the way upwards of 77. So in my opinion, we don't end a bull run in the middle of a range. We end a bull run when we are extremely overvalued on macro timeframes. Right now, we're only on the daily, and we're in the middle of a range for both the stochastic and the relative strength index. In fact, if I zoom out to the weekly on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see that the stochastic RSI is all the way up here at 90 and 86. So that's not the best sign, but let me clear the chart for you guys real quick so you can see this. This isn't the best sign, but the relative strength index is at 65. So on the weekly, I can actually see a regular bearish divergence too on the relative strength index, because if you guys look at the RSI right here, we're forming a lower high and the price chart has been forming a higher high. So in my opinion, I do think Bitcoin has another major push towards the end of this year, and that could lead to an ultimate blow off top in the relative strength index. And then we're going to see what the stochastic RSI does in the short term, but I wouldn't be entering into a buy right here on Bitcoin while we're all the way up here above 80 on the stochastic RSI, and the relative strength index is at this descending resistance right now in a macro bearish divergence. So with this massive bullish green candle right here for Bitcoin, I want to see how this plays out over the next few days, because we could see an aggressive pullback here soon. If we don't, and Bitcoin just starts to do this, it closes bullish and then breaks the all-time high and does something like this, well, then that's another trade that we could talk about with a back test of the previous high before a continuation of the uptrend for Bitcoin. But right now we're in a sticky situation because we are pretty much back testing the high of January of 2025 and December of 2024. And we are at a 702 retracement right here. So look at this, 280 million poured into Ethereum ETFs last week. And so BlackRock's buying a lot of Ethereum. Trump is buying a lot of Ethereum. Institutions are buying a lot of Ethereum. Why? Well, they know something the masses do not know. And that is when you look at Ethereum to Bitcoin's price chart, Ethereum has been drastically underperforming Bitcoin. And the reason why I talk about Ethereum is because if we see a breakout for Ethereum, for all we know, the breakout could be lackluster. We could continue to the downside. But when we see, or if we see a breakout for Ethereum, then alt season will generally follow, because that's going to be the bullish catalyst to bring money back into mid-cap and lower market cap projects on Ethereum's blockchain and other blockchains, because Ethereum is kind of like the signpost that it's alt season. If Ethereum starts to break out, everyone starts looking further down the list for different altcoins. And if we look at the relative strength index, we have been in a downtrend since 2021, since May, forming lower highs. And so if Bitcoin breaks the all-time high and starts to break out and Ethereum just lags behind, and let's just say Ethereum goes sideways or just underperforms relative to Bitcoin, so if Bitcoin starts breaking out rapidly, if Ethereum breaks out, but not as quick as Bitcoin, we might even see ETH to Bitcoin come down a little bit before breaking further to the upside. And this would be the last stop, I think, for Ethereum before a major breakout. Any type of pullback for Ethereum on the ETH to Bitcoin price chart, in my opinion, is an incredible entry point for ETH to Bitcoin, because eventually I think we're going to break this downtrend and ETH will start to break out. But on the stochastic RSI on the weekly, we are at 97 and 96 right here. So I think Bitcoin will make the move first, and then that rotation will come a little bit later this year into Ethereum and other altcoins. And the reason why I say that is because when I talked about XRP's price chart in my video yesterday, if you guys didn't see that, go watch it. I broke down why I believe XRP is going to take off at the end of this year, and I also broke that down in the XRP to the Bitcoin price chart. I think it was like a week or two ago, where XRP has been underperforming relative to Bitcoin's price chart. And right now, we are at a very key level right here for XRP to Bitcoin. If this level does not hold and we see a break further to the downside, it doesn't necessarily mean XRP sells off, because XRP could go sideways while Bitcoin's breaking out and XRP to Bitcoin's price chart goes down. Now, if Bitcoin, doesn't break out and XRP goes down, then XRP to Bitcoin could go down. Whereas if Bitcoin sells off and XRP sells off faster, XRP to Bitcoin could still go down. So we are in a downtrend right now, which is telling me strength is going to be on Bitcoin's side until Bitcoin's dominance drops. And until Bitcoin's dominance drops, Total 2 and also others are going to lag behind. So you guys can see right now, we are well below the high of the 8th of December and well below the high from 2021, where at this phase of Bitcoin stock to flow rainbow indicator, we were all the way up here. Well, right now, we're lagging behind a little bit. And so this tells me that there's still time left in this bull run, because we haven't seen a blow off top for the entire altcoin market. And so what's going on right now for altcoins is we're just simply forming this bull flag right here. After breaking this downtrend, you guys can just simply see lower highs right here ever since December of 2024, and lower lows as well too. And what I can see here as well, from the 6th of May of 2025 until this recent low on the 5th of June, it's a higher low on the price chart, whereas the stochastic RSI is putting in lower lows, and the relative strength index as well too put in a lower low. Now, if we go to the cheat sheet here, what does that mean? Well, if the price chart is putting in higher lows and the key indicators are putting in lower lows, well, that is a bullish hidden divergence. So this is a major reversal signal. Now, if Bitcoin pulls back, we could pull back a little bit further and still be in a divergence, just as long as the total 2 chart holds higher than $1 trillion. So we could technically pull back to 1.02. We could have a flash crash. As long as we hold this support right here, then we are going to be in a bullish divergence. So this is telling me that once this consolidation phase is done, we're going to see a massive amount of liquidity get injected in the altcoin market. We're going to come all the way back up. And I will replay this video in a few weeks from right now, and even a few months, and show you guys this price chart, and you're going to be like, wow, how did he know that this was going to happen? We're going to come all the way back here. We're going to back test $1.5 trillion to $1.6 trillion. And when that happens, there's going to be a lot of new investors coming in the markets wondering if now's a good time to buy up here, when they could have accumulated during this boring consolidation phase right here, especially when retail interest is down in the dumps for crypto and Bitcoin. Because if you look right here, we're at 22 out of 100 on Google Trends, and all the way back here in November of 2024, we are at 69 out of 100. So retail has been leaving the markets, and this is the way that it always works. So when I say this is why 99% of people lose money or they fail in crypto, is because they have short attention spans. Social media has been psychologically engineered to be able to rake in billions and billions of dollars from people just by mindlessly scrolling through their app and then seeing some ads here and there from advertisers that want to pay to put impressions in front of you to buy their products, because we live in a consumer society. So because your brain has been trained to not be able to focus for longer than 5 seconds, do you think you're going to be able to focus since the 12th of May, with it being June 9th? It's been nearly a month and price has done nothing for altcoins. Of course not. You're going to be frustrated. You're probably going to sell out, and then bam, the price is going to flood your serotonin, your dopamine when you see Bitcoin breaking out, altcoins breaking out. Then you're going to scramble to start buying up here, and you're going to repeat the same exact cycle that happened right here, the same cycle that happened up here, the same cycle that happened up here, where you buy the top virtually every single time because you did not pay attention to these key indicators. And when they're in overbought conditions, you didn't pay attention to what I just shared with you. But I know if you're watching this video, you're different. And as you can see back here on the 6th of December, when the stochastic RSI was all the way up here near 100, the relative strength index was at 83. That was a terrible time to be buying, but millions of retail investors came into the markets, and that's when they bought. So right now we're at 48 and 34 on the stochastic. We're at 53 on the relative strength index. Now in the long term, at any of these levels, it's a great accumulation. Even though I think we could go a little bit lower, it's definitely a possibility. Well, it's not a guarantee, because if that breakout happens now with Bitcoin, well, through this month, I think this is going to be one of the last opportunities to be able to accumulate crypto before the next major move for altcoins, because Bitcoin is following gold through a 70-day lag period, and gold has been breaking out past its all-time high. So it's Bitcoin's turn. Also, Bitcoin has been following the global liquidity index. So when